Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about a concept that I've been thinking about and I also talked about in the past, and I think it's a good time to bring it up because we've seen a lot of changes, a lot of hotfix, a lot of other things going on. The new big patch for 1.4.2 just came out. I have a video on that if you guys want to go check that out. But yeah, so the concept today is going to be capitals, pretty much capital towns for kingdoms. And before we start the video, like always, I have a script. It's going to be on the screen right now, also in the description. So anything I say, all of it will be down below. So if you want to read it again, look over it, it will all be there, right? So let's just get straight into it. So this all started with the garrison bug that made certain castles have huge garrisons of 2,000 troops, right? So this bug happened in patch 1.4.0, and this was due to a militia buff mistake. So it was pretty much a mistake in the code where the militia in certain castles got a huge buff, which made castles grow their garrison at crazy rates, sometimes at like 90 troops per day, something crazy like that, right? It was quickly patched, but it gave me an idea, so I created a video talking about why it would be a great end game feature, like having huge castles or having huge towns, right? And I have a link to this original video down below, so if you do want to check out my original thoughts at the time of the bug, you guys can go check that out. The link will be down in the description. But more importantly than it being an endgame feature, it made a lot of sense. Every kingdom should have one capital town. We could even call it just a capital, but I'm gonna call it a capital town just for reference, right? But I say this because it would be very realistic. It would make a lot of sense. Most kingdoms, from the Anglo Saxons and to the Danes and the Normans, right? All of them had capitals in their kingdoms, and also all of these kingdoms that I've just listed for you, they were all around the same time as the game takes place, right? So when these kingdoms existed in our real world, pretty much the game setting, they exist in the same time frame. So it would make sense for this world of Calradia, right, to have kingdoms with capitals, because a lot of other kingdoms in the world had capitals as well. So here is pretty much how my idea would be implemented in the role they would play, and also how they would impact gameplay as a whole. First, let's talk about how a capital is implemented. So I have bullet points for my script. Pretty much if you go down in the description, it's going to be easy to read or follow along if you want to, but I'm going to go from bullet point to bullet point and kind of explain my reasoning, right? So first, every kingdom in the beginning of the game will start with one capital town. This town will be located in the middle of every other fief they own. So what I mean by this, if I go back on the map, right? So this is my YouTube playthrough that I have currently. And so here's kind of how the positions would work. So for the Khazaits, since they start with these towns right over here, I think that Ortongard would be a great place for a capital city because it's right in the middle of all the other fiefs. It's the central point. For the Azerai, they're not doing that well in this playthrough, but they usually start with these 7 towns right here, and I think any of these towns on the bottom right here, Askar, Iakis, or Hubyar, I think there would be great candidates for a capital. And then for the Sturgians, obviously they start on top here. Balgard, Varnovapol, I think those would be a good locations. For the Vladians, I think Galand would be a great location. And then for pretty much the different types of empires, and I still can't pronounce these guys, the Batus something, the green guys, right? Pretty much pick a town that's in the middle of all their other fiefs. That would be a great starting location for them. So now, a capital town will have double or even triple the garrison of a regular town. It will be like a stronghold of the kingdom, right? So this has to do directly with the garrison bug that I was talking about. It's kind of how I got the idea in the first place. And that was kind of like the building stone of this whole concept, right? So capital towns will now have level 4 in terms of projects that can be constructed what's called in them to beef up the economy and sustain the increase in garrison. So if we go to let's go to my castle, right? Because I don't think I own any towns on this playthrough yet, right? What I mean by upgrades is if I go to manage castle, these projects, right now, the highest level they can go is level 3. And I feel like if capitals are implemented, they need to be stronger than regular towns. So therefore, there should be a level 4 for most of the projects. It could be for all the projects, right? And let's say, I'm pretty sure some of these, after every upgrade, they upgrade just like a certain percentage up. So, you know, all they really have to do is just implement another level. Next, a capital can be moved to a different town, and the move can only be proposed by the ruler of the kingdom. The move will cost a lot, though. So, what I think is a good price. It has to be something big. So I'm thinking about 100k to 500k dinars. It sounds like a lot, but there's a reason for it, because you don't really want to move your capital too much, right? It's a hard thing to move if you think about it, like based on history and just, you know, being realistic about it. So I think it should be between 100k to 500k dinars based on your steward skill. It's based on your steward, because steward has to do, if we go over here, go to steward, it pretty much has to do with your knowledge of what makes a settlement prosper. So if you have a lot of knowledge on that, you should pay less to pretty much move your capital, because you know how to make a capital prosper, if that kind of makes sense. Also, when a capital is moved, the previous capital goes back to a normal town over the course of 2 weeks. So I wanted to make it 2 weeks and not instantly, because I'm gonna explain this right now. So in these 2 weeks, the projects will deteriorate back to level 3, and also the militia and garrison units, the extra ones, right? They're gonna move from the old capital to the new capital, and they're gonna move in groups, kind of like villagers. How villagers move in, like, you know, small groups. The garrison units will, you know, slowly start packing up their stuff and then moving to the new capital. And in these 2 weeks, you cannot initiate another move. This is pretty much to stop exploits. Like, let's say you wanted to move your capital every single time, like every single day, right? And that will pretty much make you have a lot of temporary beefy towns, and that's not what I want. I kind of want it to be like one big garrison, not like all these other garrisons spread apart. Also, if a capital is taken, the stats will decrease back to level 3 over time, the same way they would as if you moved it, right? And the ruler of the kingdom that lost the capital will gain negative reputation with all of his clans. This will lead to some of them defecting from the kingdom, and this does make sense, because guess what? If a kingdom is losing all their land, clans and groups do not want to stay on a sinking ship. It kind of really, you know, it's common sense. Now, in terms of the player, once a kingdom is started, a player needs to gain control of 9 towns or castles before they can declare a capital. The 9 settlements do not have to be all under him, but they have to be owned by the kingdom. So if we go to our kingdom tab, what you pretty much need is 9 of these, either castles or towns. If you have clans and they own some as well, I don't have clans on this playthrough, but in my other playthroughs, if you have clans and they own some of your fiefs as well, that doesn't matter. It just has to be 9 total fiefs. As you can see, I have 3. Once this hits 9, you can really put it anywhere. I would kind of put it under maybe the fiefs tab, like propose to start a capital or something like that, a button like that, and I think that would be good. I also did make it 9 settlements, because that's kind of hard to get early game, and I don't want people to get a capital very early. I kind of want them to work for it, you know? Also, governors of this capital can only be blood related or through marriage. So as you as the player can only assign your spouse or children as governors of your capital. Another thing, it does make sense, because usually ownership and power in kingdoms early on in history, they really had to do with just, you know, you being related to the family or you being part of the family. So I think that would, you know, be more realistic. Now, let's talk about the roles capitals will play and the impact on gameplay. So, same thing. I have bullet points in the description if you want to follow along. So, capitals are strongholds, like we mentioned before. They are the hardest to take and will give kingdoms longevity. Weak kingdoms such as the Azerai and the Sturgians will have a fallback plan and will not be knocked out early game. right now as a kingdom, right now if a kingdom is down to what's it called, let's say 1 or 2 towns, they are 100% dead. But if their last town was a capital with, let's say, 1,500 plus garrison, maybe even 2,000, right? They would stay in the game. They would take back some land, and this makes for more interesting gameplay and comebacks. So if we go on our map right now, as you saw before, currently I'm taking over the Sturgians, and as you can see, they have 2 towns left. Barely anything. And if we look at, I'm pretty sure this is what, the Western Kingdom? Northern Empire, right? They have 2 towns left and a castle, and these guys are down to 1 town, the Azurai. And they're pretty much dead. There's nothing else to say about it. They are going to die eventually, very soon, right? Either this kingdom's going to start war with them, they're going to take it, and that'll be over. But let's say this last town, right now it probably has like, let's say 400 to 500 garrison. But if this town, let's say, had 2,000 garrison, it wouldn't be a choice of attack for a lot of armies that can be formed, especially early game. Like, you know, this is pretty early game. I just started my kingdom, right? So this would let the Azurai hold this 1 town and eventually start taking back castles, you know, start doing extra things, you know, because right now in the game, if let's say if a kingdom has no land, they never usually get back into the game. So I think we need to find a way to give them longevity, and I think capitals are the way. Capitals will also be the most important settlement for the kingdom. So if a capital is attacked, all clans will receive a notification to come to its aid. This will make it more secure and solidify the point of a capital being a stronghold. So it's very important, right? Now, apart from being a stronghold, it would also be a place of great fortune. So there's a lot of units that are going to be in that capital, so there's going to be a lot of activity and a lot of things being bought and sold and all of that stuff, right? So workshops will cost more, but they will make more. Caravans started there will have stronger units because there's a bigger unit pool to, you know, pretty much recruit. And tournament wins will also give you positive relations with the ruler clan of the kingdom. I think, you know, there should be a focus on going to the capital for things because, you know, that's your main place of the kingdom. So I think it should have some benefits like these things that I just mentioned. The downside of a capital is the costs. Wage costs for the garrison of, let's say, 1,500 plus or 2,000, it's going to be a steep price. It's going to be a lot that the ruler clan has to pay. You can either choose to lower the garrison and become more vulnerable or pay to keep the stronghold. That's up to the ruler. And since when a capital is taken, non-ruling clans lose a lot of relationships with the ruler or player, right, will have to invest into the upgrades and make enough gold to keep up the wages and garrison costs. You know, it's very important. If you don't want to fall off as a ruler, you have to take care of your capital. So yeah, that is my idea of a capital. I know it's probably, you know, it probably needs a lot of balances and other fixes and stuff like that, but I just want to introduce the idea as a whole and see where it can go. Whether it gets added as an in-game feature or modders make a mod from it, I'm pleased to share the concept, and, you know, whoever wants it can take it. Doesn't really matter. I think it will be great for the game. I think it will be a great feature, regardless if it's a mod or in-game feature, you know. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, what you agree and disagree with, and let's have a discussion in the comments. Thank you for listening, and like always, stay safe. Oh, and one more thing. I do have a Discord. You know, whenever I do make a script now, I'm going to try to post in the Discord and see what people think about it and things of that nature. I did it for this video. So if you want to be kind of, you know, included in the conversation before a video gets put out, or if you just want to come by and talk and chat, the Discord link will be down below. You guys can join it. And yeah, we're going to be happy to see you there. So like always, stay safe.